Welcome, everyone, to the 2020 Keep America Beautiful Vision for America event. My name is Brent Robertson, and I'm honored to be your MC for this evening. Take a seat, make yourself comfortable on your couch, in your pajamas if you wish, as we have quite an event in store. Because of our passion for the topic, and in the spirit of this conversation, we felt doing this event live was well worth the risk. So please bear with us in the event we experience any glitches in the broadcast. The theme for tonight's event is the power of purpose in community. This theme reminds me of a favorite quote. There is nothing more powerful than a community that discovers what matters to it. I'll say it again. There's nothing more powerful than a community that discovers what matters to it. This quote comes from a beautiful poem written by the organizational development legend, Margaret Wheatley. She's a teacher, a writer, a leader, and an advisor who operates with the unshakable conviction that leaders must learn how to evoke people's inherent generosity, creativity, and need for community. In this one line, she summarizes what I've been provoking, bearing witness to, and benefiting greatly from, and what has become my life's work, building communities driven by purpose. For the past 20 years, I have been involved in the creation of high-performance communities. Communities of people who are able to produce valuable change that goes way beyond what the benchmarks of the past say is possible. These communities include some of the most successful companies in the world, social justice organizations, those involved in arts and culture, even religious institutions. My experience has proven Margaret's point. Communities that are driven by ideas and purpose bigger than what they do, provide, or make outperform those that aren't in every way. When I was asked to MC this event, I was elated. Any chance to speak to the power of purpose and what's possible through community approach, sign me up. You see, I believe that we have the infinite capacity to contribute to what matters to us. I believe that human beings are at their best when creating new things. And I also believe that a strong community is the foundation on which vitality exists. And I am proud to be here to share with you a rare example of an organization who believes in these things and has been acting on them for decades. Tonight, you will hear from a community of luminaries, participate in conversations with industry leaders, and discuss your ideal vision for your community with other attendees. But what's really exciting is that you will be given an opportunity to animate your vision through your support of Keep America Beautiful. Get ready to learn how to Keep America revitalizes communities and is uniquely equipped to act at the local level and provoke change nationwide. I will be introducing each speaker by name and title. So if you want to learn more about these amazing people, you can find their detailed biographies on the Keep America Beautiful website, as well as on this event platform. So let's get on with the show. Our first speaker is none other than the CEO of Keep America Beautiful, Helen Lohman. Welcome, Helen.
Thank you, Brent. And thank you all for attending our 35th Vision for America dinner. For all of us, 2020 has been a year of change and adaptation. And this event and Keep America Beautiful are absolutely no different. You know, normally our vision event would be a dinner somewhere in New York City. This year, like so many others, we have made the pivot to a digital experience. I hope you enjoyed your virtual cocktail hour and the showcases offered by some of our leading Vision for America partners. So to our sponsors and everyone here who is supporting the purpose-driven work that we do at Keep America Beautiful, thank you. I also just want to take a moment to thank my fabulous board of directors and my incredible staff who work every day to support our committed affiliate network that make Keep America Beautiful the leading community improvement organization in the United States. Thank you all for everything that you do. You know, Brent mentioned that he was impressed with our collective impact. So let me offer a few data points that back up that claim. In 2019 alone, the Keep America Beautiful Community Network activated 11.9 million volunteer hours. You know, if you put that in terms of a workforce, that is a 4,100 employee organization working together for over a year and not taking any vacation, by the way. This contribution of time and programming that we deliver as a national organization resulted in incredible things. 65.8 million pounds of litter and debris removed from our public spaces. Almost 50% of that went straight into recycling, feeding the circular economy. Almost 60,000 miles of roadways cleaned, improved, or beautified. Over 2 million plantings, improved over 281,000 acres. And we cleaned up over 7,700 miles of waterways, shorelines, and beaches. Altogether, this results in over $300 million in economic benefits to the communities we serve. Honestly, I could not be prouder of these organizational results and the collective impact of the Keep America Beautiful network. As impressive as this is, you know, we have to do more. American communities are struggling, and we are facing multiple crises all at once. COVID has changed how we live, and we can see that in the way we are all interacting with and relating to each other. The work that we do at Keep America Beautiful is focused on restoring and revitalizing communities for everyone to enjoy. We believe that clean, green public spaces are at the heart of a community where we seek to beautify and unify. We have a saying at Keep America Beautiful, and it goes like this: we keep America beautiful so Americans can do beautiful things. And that's what's at the real core of this organization and the reason we're all here tonight. You know, earlier this month, the Keep America Beautiful Board of Directors approved our upcoming 2021-2025 strategic plan. We worked to develop our new strategic plan over the past year, gathering input, ideas, and feedback from hundreds of our stakeholders. By centralizing and developing systematic programming at a national level, supporting our network with training and best practices, we free our community leaders to act locally on what is right for their specific community and do it with purpose. You know, our new strategic plan lays out a few things that are fundamental to our work. Number one, everyone deserves to live in a clean community. So Keep America Beautiful will work to end litter and reduce waste. Number two, green spaces are a critical component of a healthy community. So Keep America Beautiful will plant trees and nurture green spaces. Number three, an informed community is a strong community. So Keep America Beautiful will engage and inform residents. And number four, a strong community is an inclusive community. So Keep America Beautiful will work to ensure that all stakeholders and constituents are included. Now, let me begin to kick off the focus of tonight's discussion. Later this evening, we are going to ask you what the future of communities should look like in America. Now, I want to be really clear. There isn't just one answer. Like everything else, it's a partnership that needs to recognize the needs of a variety of diverse stakeholders, including you. So the question is, how can individuals, governments, nonprofits, and businesses share in the responsibility to make our communities a better place for all? You know, we have some ideas, but tonight, you're not actually going to hear from us. We want to hear from you. I'm so pleased to have our keynote speakers joining us tonight. Just a little bit about two of them. Chris Fursley from Ocean Spray will talk about how a farmer-owned, community-led global brand has been able to create an ecosystem of community-based farmers to supply that global brand. And Balaji Ganapathy will have a conversation with our MC, Brent Robertson, to discuss how Tata Consulting Services, one of the largest consulting service organizations on the planet, imbues their work with purpose to serve global, national, and local communities, and how a focus on purpose and making the world a better place is actually good for business. I couldn't be prouder to bring you all together tonight to help us define a better purpose-driven future for communities across our country. With your input and the 67 years of experience that Keep America Beautiful brings to the table, this feels like a new beginning. Thank you all for what you do, and thank you for your contribution to this evening.
In America, great purpose comes from great dreams.
Did you have any special training for this kind of leadership when you were a boy?
No, I really didn't. I had no idea that I would be catapulted into a position of leadership in the civil rights struggle in the United States.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
You work all day long and achieve some kind of level of success by nightfall. Go to sleep and wake up the next morning with the job still to be done.
It is well known that I'm a gay person, and in this state, there is a law that says gay people cannot be married, but there is no law that says two human beings cannot love one another.
I'm particularly honored, and I happily share the honor with millions of American women of yesterday and of today, whose abilities and whose conduct have given me this opportunity for service.
And I was listening to the PA system, Dr. Jones to the emergency room. Just sounded so fabulous, you know.
Vice President Johnson has left the hospital. Lieutenant Commander John S. McCain, III. He was also the most seriously marked by his 5.5 years of imprisonment.
It is the worst disaster in the history of the American space program.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a difficult moment for America.
We lived through hurricanes before. I never experienced anything like Hurricane Harvey.
Elena Petty would never, Carol Lugren would never, Chris Hickson would never, Luke Hoyer would never.
1,000 represents just 1% of the U.S. deaths as we approach 100,000 deaths in a matter of days.
And time again, wherever great purpose appears, American communities rise.
March for Our Lives, response to the massacre last month.
We've risen too, driven by our own purpose, to keep America beautiful, so Americans can do beautiful things.
Daddy, you forgot. Every little bit hurts.
That's why, for the better part of the last 7 decades, we've educated, innovated, and rolled up our sleeves to increase recycling, beautify neighborhoods, and pick up lots and lots of litter. But just like the communities we serve, we're looking forward, not back. What great purposes will define our communities in the future? Whatever they are, we don't just want a seat at the table. We want to help build it. And we want you at that table too. So invest, volunteer, partner with us. Because empowering individuals to define and prioritize purpose in their communities is how we fulfill our own.
Every time I watch that video. I'm excited to introduce our next guest, Chris Fursley, Head of Global Corporate Affairs at Ocean Spray. She comes to us through a pre-recorded video telling an incredible story.
Hi, I'm Chris Fursley, and I'm Head of Global Corporate Affairs and Communications at Ocean Spray. First, I'd like to thank Keep America Beautiful for having me here today at the 35th Vision for America event. More so, I'd like to thank Keep America Beautiful for the amazing work you're doing to educate, empower, and inspire so many individuals around the country to really lead by purpose and take charge to make an impact in their communities. Now more than ever, I truly believe that we must all come together and lead by purpose in this way to build a better future. I've dedicated my career to leading by purpose. I was strategy director at Mrs. Obama's Partnership for Healthier America, which fueled initiatives like Let's Move, Reach Higher, Let Girls Learn, FNV, and others. And what I learned there is that this approach has to be cross-sector. We need to work together to build programs that are data-driven and really measurable to create an impact in the communities where we operate, not dissimilar to what Keep America Beautiful is doing now. From Mrs. Obama's team, I went over to the Milken Institute and realized that another sphere that needs to be involved in this work, other than government, industry, education, and nonprofit, is the investment space. It really, really needs to be this cross-sector effort. And now I'm at Ocean Spray, where our mission is to connect farms to families for a better life. That better life takes that holistic approach again. It involves healthy people and healthy planet. We look at these in one bucket together. Our regenerative agriculture work, which verifies 100% of cranberries as sustainably grown, sits alongside our packaging work, alongside our operations, alongside our health and wellness initiatives, and our CSR programming. And across my career, I really learned one thing. We really are so uniquely situated at a time where you can do well by doing good. You can build programs and initiatives that do such good for the communities around you, and at the same time see business thrive. It's what consumers want. It's what people want. It's what we are all looking for. So why not? Why are we not all working together, coming together with partners like Keep America Beautiful to really drive forward that better planet? There's a quote that comes to mind. We do not inherit this earth from our ancestors. Rather, we borrow it from our children. Let's get working for our children. Thank you.
Realizing a bold vision takes a community. And this is where your participation is essential. And here's how. By investing in the future. Beautifying and unifying communities offers remarkable social returns. Direct funding to affiliates, building out national programs for local execution, and improving communities through organized volunteerism can drive a 50 times ROI impact in local communities. Volunteer. Every individual engaged by Keep America Beautiful affiliate makes a measurable difference in their local community. Go to volunteer.kab.org to find out more. And partner with us. Contact Jacqueline Grace, Chief Development Officer, to discuss a multi-year partnership rooted in sharing purpose for meaningful, groundbreaking change. All right, so we are going to be moving into our second act, and this is where things get interesting and interactive. I'm excited to introduce Balaji Ganapathy, Chief Social Responsibility Officer at Tata Consulting Services. Balaji, welcome.
Thank you, Brent. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I'm excited because you and I get to have a really fun conversation together. And we're going to spend the next 15, 20 minutes or so talking about purpose and community based on your experience. As we do, audience, if you have questions for Balaji along the way, please put them in the chat and we can bring some audience questions toward the end. So I'm going to start off with a heavyweight question. Tell us about the commercial benefit of purpose.
Thank you for asking that question. I think it's an important one to understand and address, right? So if you look at today's environment and compare that to how we were in the 50s, the average lifespan of a Fortune 500 company was approximately 60 years in the 50s. And today, the average lifespan of a Fortune 500 company is just over 20 years. I think as a leader of an organization, as people who are investing in organizations, as employees, you should ask yourself the question, do you want to be part of something that's only going to be around for 20 years? Or do you want to have a rich legacy that can be over 60 years and even beyond? And I think we all know that long-termism and a long-term view can help us achieve that kind of a goal. And what drives that long-termism? It is purpose, right? Why does an organization exist? And what does it do for its stakeholders is, I think, more relevant today than ever before. I truly believe that today, purpose is the new tech. Every company in the last 10 years or so wanted to be a technology company, infusing digital technologies such as artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain, machine learning, data analytics, and more to help them on a growth and transformation journey, whether it is driven by consumers or driven by B2B organizations applying to their supply chain. But today, more than ever before in history, every stakeholder is demanding companies to do more. And why is there a commercial benefit? There are 4 aspects to it. The first and foremost is the most evident one, as I laid out, right? A purpose-driven company is going to be here for the long run. And if you are going to be here for the long run, then you're paying rich dividends to all your stakeholders, not just your shareholders. I think there is value for every stakeholder in that kind of an organization. The second one is in an increasingly competitive environment for talent. I think being a purpose-driven company and infusing purpose into your business model really sets you apart from a talent and culture perspective. You're going to have the right set of people coming in, and you're going to drive the right set of behaviors and culture within the organization. The third is, yes, it is the age of digital, and you have proliferation of digital technologies available. But how do you use them? Where do you use them? How do you create value? That is going to be defined by purpose. Without purpose, digital is just a tool. With purpose, it can be a game changer. And then finally, this is an era that calls for unconventional partnerships between and across organizations. And you see that every day in the news where players who are getting disrupted, legacy players who are getting disrupted, are looking for newer ways to move either up or down the value chain to serve their customers. And what better driver than purpose to really relook at your ecosystem? Who are the people that you're serving? Who are the organizations that you're working with? And then relook at your entire ecosystem and start from there. So these are the 4 reasons I think there is a great value, commercially and otherwise, for you to be a purpose-driven organization.
Balaji, you mentioned something in there that I think is a really interesting idea, purpose as a technology. Actually, it's sort of a mechanism that generates things. Speak a little bit more about that. Purpose as a technology.
Certainly. So I believe that purpose is the new tech, right? Like I said, every company wanted to be a technology company. Today, every company wants to be a purpose-driven company. And with the proliferation of digital technologies, what has happened, 2 forces have come together. First and foremost, you have an abundance of digital technologies available. And the second is that the cost of adoption, the ease of adoption has become better than ever before. And in order to harness the potential of this, you need a driver. Digital is not going to do anything by itself. I always believe that human intelligence will drive artificial intelligence, right? So purpose can be the driver for where you are applying digital and technology to transform your business. But the interesting thing is that with purpose, it also puts people at the center of everything that we do. It makes sure that we are compassionate in how we look at our business, how we look at interacting with employees, and how we look at the local communities. So I think it's a very powerful force, and I'm glad to see it is getting recognized externally in the last couple of years with the purpose statement by Larry Fink, and then 170 CEOs signing a purpose pledge letter. And then today, we are talking about stakeholder capitalism versus shareholder capitalism. So I think the time has come for this.
Would you suggest that an organization that isn't centered on a purpose, that's sort of out in the distance, would you suggest that it's probably going to be a struggle for them?
Yes, in the short term and in the long term, especially to emerge successful post-COVID, there is going to be a absolutely great demand from all of these stakeholders, from investors, from employees, and you're already seeing this. The social justice movement has taught us this, the healthcare crisis has taught us this, and the economic crisis that is unfolding now is going to demand that. So without purpose, it is like a rudderless ship, right? You can go in any direction, but you won't be able to control it. And with purpose, you really have the steering wheel in your hand, because you can steer it in the right direction, and all of the stakeholders are engaged because of that. So I think it is time for companies to stress test their business models on purpose and relook at and redraw it for the new normal.
Balaji, thank you for that. It certainly validates the work that I'm involved with, which first and foremost is helping organizations reveal what it is that drives them, that is bigger than themselves. I want to change directions a little bit. Tata Consulting is a global company. When you hear the word community, what does that mean to an organization like yours?
So we are very fortunate to be part of the Tata Group of companies, which is arguably the world's oldest purpose-driven enterprise. So the Tata Group was founded 152 years ago. And even at that time, the founders had a clear vision that the community is not just any other stakeholder, but the very purpose of its existence. So even today, the group is having a majority shareholdership by 2 philanthropic trusts. So even today, TCS, which is the most valuable information technology company in the world, we crossed Accenture to be 144 billion in market cap last week. So even today, 66% of the ownership of a parent company is with 2 philanthropic trusts. So in a time and era where in the last 100 years, most of the organizations have set up businesses and then set up foundations to channel their investments in philanthropy in that model. Here is an enterprise that is built with the community and society in mind. So TCS, when it was founded in 1968, this born out of purpose, right? So we inherit, as I said, it's very grateful that we inherited a set of values and a culture that had purpose-driven leadership and servant leadership built within it. So that's helped us come very far in these years, right? We are present in over 50 markets. We have 450,000 employees working for us. We are one of the largest private sector employers of women in the technology sector. We have about 170,000 women working for us. And our retention rates are some of the best in the industry, over 90%. And if you look at our compounded annual growth rate in the last 10 to 20 years, it's far exceeded the market. So why I mentioned that is because the way in which we look at our stakeholders is that what we do for our customers, which is to help them on a growth and transformation journey using the power of digital technologies, that's the same way we look at our employees. How do we enable them to fulfill their full potential using digital tools and technologies so that they can upskill and reskill themselves and find a great career opportunity within the organization? That is the same lens that we use for the community. how can we bring the best of what TCS has to offer and serve the community? And for that, we have identified that what we do for our customers and what we do for employees is what is the best thing to do for our community, which is to connect people, especially women, youth, and marginalized groups, underrepresented communities, to opportunities in the digital economy. So that's what defines what purpose means for us, and that's what our lens to the community means. And then we use what I call a 4C model, which is 4 forms of capital: intellectual capital, technology capital, human capital, and financial capital. And a combination of that is what drives how we approach the community. So to me, our view of the community is not as a support function, not as a side initiative, but as a line function, as something that is core to business.
I hope all of you in the audience are feverishly writing notes. This is incredible stuff. Thank you for sharing it. I want to ask you about, we're in a new age, right? And digital technologies, the pandemic, all those kinds of things. Two-part question. What are you noticing changing about community? And what do you predict is going to change when we think about community as a result of that?
That's a very tough question. I think a multi-million-dollar question. I'll try and attempt that. I think let me put it in 2 ways. One is the pre-pandemic view and then the post-pandemic view. Even before the pandemic hit, I had the opportunity in the beginning of the year to look back at what kind of trends are emerging in the world around us. And of course, purpose, people, and technology are the 3 highlights that I saw. Purpose emerging as a strong driver for economic growth. Technology, of course, being adopted en masse across government, society, and industry, and all of the sectors. But the key element, the third element, is people, the rising consciousness of people. I think this was there all along in the last several years because of the social media movement and how it gave people access to a voice, right? But what I see, especially in the last couple of years, accentuated in the last year, is that voice is shifting to action. People, especially younger people, but I wouldn't count out other generations too. Everyone wants to not just have a voice, but wants to have be a part of change, be a part of action. And they're looking for avenues to do that. And that existed even before COVID. So if you look at some of the programs that we put in place within the company around skilling, around education, entrepreneurship, employment, or the community aspects like healthcare, water, and sanitation, it was all to drive employee action and company resources to support those initiatives. What has shifted? I think the recognition that we are not facing one pandemic, but multiple crises at the same time, right? A healthcare crisis, economic crisis, and I would say a social justice or a social consciousness crisis. There are more. The environmental crisis even precedes that. But these have come together at a time when I would say that the trust factor in government and government organizations to be the leader of change has gone down over the years. I think it's a fact, right? We live in a more polarized world than ever before. And it's not just to do with individuals in the government, but it is to do with collectively where society and people expect us to be versus where we are. I was one of the avid supporters of the SDGs when it was originally formed in 2015 and announced. And I still am. I believe that having global goals that can really bring people together to drive action across industries, across sectors is essential. But what has happened is that instead of relying on government and agencies to really drive the change, today society is expecting companies and nonprofit organizations to be their lighthouse for where change needs to occur and connecting them to those opportunities. That is a shift, and especially in a digital age, when we have the tools and the resources to be able to do that, I truly believe that there is tremendous opportunity. Yes, we are going through a crisis that's far from over, but I do believe that we will emerge stronger out of this, because with adversity comes opportunity. And the opportunity is there for us to collectively come together and say, how can we have a better planet? How can we take care of our people? And how can we create a pathway towards prosperity for all? That, I believe, is the opportunity that is in front of us. And I think digital tools are definitely going to be part of the answer. As I said, people want to just move away from being a voice through those digital technologies and social to being actual change makers. And you will see a proliferation of solutions coming in that way, especially in the nonprofit and the civic engagement space. COVID is accelerating that. A lot of organizations that are not able to put boots on the ground today are thinking about how to engage people who want to be part of the solution to the solution. And I think that will give rise to a new set of tools, new way of volunteerism, a new way of engagement that is going to stay much beyond the end of COVID.
Very hopeful message there, and agree with so much of what you're saying. I'm going to bring in a question from our audience. The audience has been throwing some interesting questions our way. Here's one. What should be the most important purpose-driven goal Fortune 500 companies should focus on?
It's a very good question, and I think it depends, right? It depends on where you are at in your own purpose journey, what you're set up to do as an organization. Because the last thing you want to do is to make statements and not back it up through action, right? So a good place to start would be to do a purpose audit. Look at what are the kind of issues that are there in society, whether you are a local player, a regional player, a national or international player. Look at the kind of issues that are in your core markets, and then look at what resources you have available to support that. Are you a bank or a financial company that could help with financial inclusion? Are you a manufacturing company that can help with supply chain issues? Are you a telecommunication company that can help with the digital divide? Or are you an organization in the professional services space that can, for example, help offset some of the administrative capacity that nonprofit organizations today are requiring because they have had to cut back on staff? There are so many possibilities. Bigger, ambitious, aspirational goals can also be taken on. But I think being authentic and sticking to your strengths is very important. Not just cash contributions. Cash contributions are helpful and necessary, but going beyond that. I think those are two steps that can, hopefully give you a good set of answers to choose from.
Another question coming from the audience is about partnerships. What should purpose-driven partnerships look like? Should they look different from older models of partnership?
I think a lot of these answers lie in looking back at what worked and what didn't. And I think nonprofit organizations hold the key here. Like, we have a terrific set of professionals in this space, in the civic sector, who have knowledge of this. And then you have terrific set of individuals in the business side and government who are looking at it from the perspective of what works in business and what is successful from a policy, funding, and resources point of view. Bringing these together, I think the secret sauce doesn't change, but the context changes, right? Because I always truly believe that you have to meet communities and problems where they are at. You cannot parachute in with a solution. You have to work with whom you're trying to serve. And one thing that can change, or one thing I can add, is that something that we are doing at TCS is to adopt a human-centric view, right? Using design thinking and some of the newer principles of design to look at whom we are serving and then building out a purpose-driven journey, right? So you're not just looking at projects and programs, but you're looking at true outcomes, right? If you're trying to serve people who are incarcerated and coming back into the workforce, what kind of outcomes are you creating? Are you stopping at creating opportunities, or are you actually going beyond that and looking at outcomes that lead them to employment and staying on in the employment and being successful? I'm just throwing that as an example, but from a business perspective also, this applies equally, right? A lot of companies, for example, in the healthcare space moved downstream from treatment to prevention, right? Wellness, and especially in today's age when mental health is going to be a key focus area, there are a lot of opportunities for companies to navigate there. So I think context has changed, and some of the tools that we have available are different, but the secret sauce remains the same. And it starts with trust-based partnership, shared understanding of outcomes, complementary set of resources, and a long-term view of what you want to change and what are you prepared to do to achieve that.
So I've got another audience question, and then I'm going to save one of my personal questions for you for the end. But it's a great one. Hope you're ready. What purpose drives you the most personally?
Thank you for asking that question. I think, growing up in a middle-class family in India, my father had 13 brothers and sisters, and similar numbers on my mother's side. One of the few things I learned early on in life, one is that, my grandparents made sure that whether it was a boy or a girl, all of their kids got equal access and opportunity to education. And from there on, it was their world to live. And what it has done for the generation, my generation and the generations after, is that it opened up the door to opportunities where we've all of us have seen social movement, generational improvement. So that influenced me a lot. And I think that the education is a real gateway to opportunity. I truly believe in that. And when we do programs in Middle America or in inner city neighborhoods, and when I see the eyes of a young student light up in a rural community in Wyoming or in suburbs of Chicago, I love being on the field and experiencing that. And that really drives me because it's like the starfish effect, right? It makes a difference to each person, and that is one of the things that really drive me. Education as a gateway to opportunity. And these days, I'm inspired by my kids also. They're growing up, and I learn a lot from them. So I get inspired in unlearning how we learn things as kids and how in today's world they learn in this digital age. And that drives me as well, because I do believe, you spoke earlier about being optimistic. I'm really optimistic because I do believe that the younger generation, they've figured it out. They've been born into this kind of an environment. They're growing with learning it as a language that's different from how we learn. So I'm very upbeat and optimistic about the future.
When you stretch your imagination and dare to dream about your ideal vision for your community, what comes to mind for you?
I think quality of life is something that I really think about a lot. We see before the industrialization happened, how society used to live, how people used to live. Most often in history, some of the best moments are when people are able to live in harmony with the environment, harmony with themselves, and harmony with people in other parts of the world. So when I think about an ideal community, I'm living my dream. Growing up, as I said, in a middle-class family, my dream was to make sure that my kids would be better off. And I always loved country music and living in a farm neighborhood. So I live in a small suburb of New Jersey called White House Station. We have roughly about 2,500 people around us in this town. Largely farmland, open spaces, a lot of opportunity for people to get to know each other. In fact, in the area around me, we all know each other. There is a sense of community. And I truly believe that that is going to come back in the US and around the world. COVID has one of the positive things it has taught us is that it's not necessary to just live in an urban environment to find quality work. That break of or delinking of location with job is going to happen over a period of time. Yes, not all professions are possible in the immediate term, but I think we will have a greater balance or a shift towards the suburban environments. And even in the urban environments, the sense of community, the sense of what quality of life means is going to change. And I do believe that, as I mentioned earlier, people are looking to contribute and they are looking for action. And I think they will become better civic citizens, I think civic agents, once they realize that what they're doing for the community, what they're doing for their families, for a better society is simple actions that they have control over.
All right, so one final question for you. If you had some advice for Keep America Beautiful as it takes on creating conditions within communities that allow for a vision like that to become a reality, what advice would you give Keep America Beautiful?
Wow, that's I think you have a terrific board and a terrific leader, and I'm sure you're in able hands. I think my only words of advice is look beyond your organization and your boundaries to look at what's happening in society, what's happening in communities. And it may not start and end with just keeping America beautiful, right? You may need to delve into areas that are adjacent. I often realize when we do educational programs that you cannot teach a hungry child. You cannot, address one problem without having impact or be influenced by something that is adjacent. So I think there is an opportunity to really touch upon those adjacencies without straying too much away from the core mission, and that can really help you really well. But I think you're in very able hands, and I do feel that people, the sense of community when it re-energizes, and especially post-COVID, when people are looking to have a better time in where they are living and working, it is going to drive a lot more of action, a lot more of participation and engagement for your mission.
Well said. One thing I just realized about this particular technology is that you don't have the experience of hearing roaring applause or being able to see people standing in their chairs to respond to all the things that you brought forward tonight. But just know that they're there. So grateful for your time today and all that you shared with us. Balaji, thank you so much.
Thank you, Brent, for being such an amazing moderator. I enjoyed this discussion. And thank you to all who are part of this evening. And I'd love to keep in touch. You can find me on LinkedIn or Twitter, and I'm pretty responsive. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and reactions and potentially do some work together in the future. Thank you.
Okay, so we talked about at the beginning of the show tonight that we want to hear from you, and Helen brought that forward as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move into small group sessions. And the reason that we're going to do that is that we need to hear from you about your ideas, right? Balaji shared his idea about his vision for what community could be like, his community. What is your vision? So we're going to break into these sessions. I'll give you some instructions in a second, but what I want you to do is join one of these sessions and speak your mind about what you see you would love to see be true about your community. Because we need to understand very different perspectives, different dimensions of what a vibrant and a vital community looks like. So in each of these sessions, there'll be a representative from Keep America Beautiful who's really kind of taking notes. Because we want to collect these ideas and help them shape the strategy and plans that Keep America Beautiful is putting together now. So go ahead and share openly. What we're going to do is give you about 15 minutes You can choose a group, any of them that you like. If it's really, really full of people, maybe come out and jump into a different one. I'll give you some instructions on how to do that. And then what we'll do is give you about 15 minutes, and then we'll come back to the main stage. And Helen and I are going to talk about what was discussed in these different sessions, so that you can hear the themes that you all talked about. So you can make your way to the sessions area by clicking sessions on the left side panel and enter one of those engaging sessions. They're all going to be moderated. If you find that your group is heavily populated, feel free to choose another session so we can keep the number of people balanced. And we will see you all in about 15 minutes back on the main stage. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the small session conversations. Really interested in hearing what you had to say. I'm going to welcome back to the stage Helen.
Hi, Brent.
Hi, Brent.
So before we get into the breakout session feedback, can't wait to hear, but you had talked about a new strategic plan for Keep America Beautiful. I was curious if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, our 2021-2025 plan focuses on much of what really we've been talking about tonight. Looking ahead, KAB is going to try to look and work with communities more holistically. You know, we've always been known as a cleanup organization, and what we really want to land in the next 5 years is why we focus on cleaning and greening communities. You know, we believe that the execution on our framework, on the Keep America Beautiful framework, will be a model for communities moving into a future that is beneficial to businesses, to government, to nonprofits, to any individuals, to anyone who actually makes up a community.
It's remarkable to me, and it's sort of to remember that, 6 decades, and it's fantastic to hear about a strategy that really takes the best of what makes Keep America Beautiful what it is, and that 6 decades of history brings that forward. So let's get into some of the questions from the group sessions. What did you hear?
A lot of great stuff, actually. So I wanted to focus a little bit on some of the things I heard. You know, there was a real discussion on having a sense of belonging, being, comfortable and safe in your community. That community could also be, community can be different things, I guess, is the conversation that we heard. That it could be just, it's not necessarily geographic. It could be people that you feel a connection with. And I thought that was great. It's also, I heard a lot about community being kind of co-defined. So in other words, everyone should have a say in what community is to them. I really loved things that I heard about how community isn't defined by wealth, that there's a collective intersection between people and place, and that I also heard that in the future there would be less division, that one person's success is everyone's success, and that everyone should take care of the problems that they have in a community together. Then there was also a lot of comments about resiliency, which is right in line with the work that we're trying to do in our new strategic plan. So, community is being able to withstand shocks and work through crises together, that there's a shared responsibility and multiple leadership that makes resilient communities. So and just this idea that it's a shared responsibility, that everyone needs to come together, that everyone needs to stand together, was that came out a lot. also, you know, just there was a lot that was brought up about social media, which I thought was interesting, that this idea that social media has actually created communities. You know, we think of communities as a physical space, but community has really changed. The idea of community has changed, and that it's a group of people. It's maybe more the person than the geographic area. So those were some of the themes I heard. Really great conversation.
Anything surprise you?
Yeah, there were some surprises. I was surprised by just I think, like I said, that there was this idea that that it's not so much geographic, that it's bigger than that it's made up of people. I thought that was really interesting. There were some comments about, going back to resiliency, about, what is the cost of not being resilient, and what is that, what does that look like if a community isn't resilient, and if they don't work to become resilient. I was also, I wasn't surprised by this, but I thought it was interesting that there was a conversation about the multi-generational communities. I thought that was interesting. So those were some of the things that surprised me.
Any personal takeaways for you?
There's always personal takeaways for me. I get so much out of these things. I was really pleased and surprised to hear how much our direction and our strategic plan has resonated with people. That in the conversation there was real excitement about the where we're headed and where Keep America Beautiful is headed. Keep America Beautiful is such an iconic nonprofit, and this this is a slight shift for us from really going into communities and asking, what do you think is beautiful? What is a beautiful community to you as a person? And allowing them to tell us what is beautiful for them and what kind of community they want to live in. And then for us to help them reach that goal and to find the resources they need in order to live in a beautiful, clean, green community. And that's what we're hoping to achieve. I found that, for me to be something that was a personal takeaway that I think is very, very important.
Helen, thank you for sharing that summary, and thank you, audience, for everyone who participated in that conversation. I imagine we could have gone on for hours and hours talking about visions for a community, but thank you for all those contributions. All those things will help shape how we go about community revitalization. So, Helen, thank you. All right, so we are moving into our third act of our program tonight. And this is really about the realities. What does it really look like in the front lines of community to take on a strategy of vision as bold as this? So it's my pleasure to introduce Kanika Greenlee. She's the executive director of Keep Atlanta Beautiful Commission. And she's going to share some examples of tri-sector partnerships, business, government, and citizens who share how purpose can make an incredible impact in their communities. Welcome, Kanika.
Thank you, Brent. And thank you all for joining us this evening at the Vision for America event. I'm excited to represent more than 600 Keep America Beautiful affiliates across this great nation. Keep Atlanta Beautiful Commission is a government-funded affiliate housed in the City of Atlanta's Department of Public Works. You've heard a bit about the three-legged stool of citizens, business, and government. One of the advantages of being housed in government allows for optimal public-private partnership. The government is at the table, but we can't do it alone. We need our partners in business and community, our residents, to get this work done. Keep America Beautiful affiliates look different somewhat in their organizational structures. You have a government affiliate such as myself. There's nonprofit affiliates that may be a 501c3. And then there's a hybrid affiliate, which you may be a city or county or state employee, but you still have a 501c3 attached to it. No matter what your structure is, our vision for America and goals are unified: end littering, improve recycling, and beautify communities. Let's talk about litter for a moment. We are living in unprecedented times. Many cities, including Atlanta, have seen an uptick in litter during COVID-19. But the face of litter has also changed too. We've seen these in our neighborhoods, in our streets, and where we shop. We've also seen these. PPE littered items such as these may pose a contamination risk, not only for our solid waste employees, but for the volunteers who may be doing a community cleanup. And these items can also be an environmental hazard. So here's my PSA for you tonight. PPE is litter too. But there are some silver linings of COVID. Many of us are telecommuting during this time, which gives us more time with family and friends. We're able to reconnect with them, even if it's via phone or Zoom. And to all my parents out there, you are the real MVPs. We've also picked up new activities: biking, baking, or beautifying communities such as our garden. We have a newfound appreciation for who truly is an essential worker. While not the intent, these changes have resulted in some significant environmental changes. This situation is far from ideal, but let's appreciate the silver linings and continue to create a more sustainable future. In Atlanta and many KAB affiliates across the country, we paused our community cleanups as we learn more about the impacts of coronavirus and how we could safely return. Thanks to the assistance of Keep America Beautiful, we received COVID-19 volunteer cleanup guidelines. In Atlanta, we resumed our socially distant cleanups in June, and I just want to share some of the impact we've had in such a short amount of time. Some projects of note include, we just recently, last week, as a matter of fact, installed 50 right-of-way receptacles that includes recycling and trash bins in the downtown and west side of Atlanta. And we've had partnerships and plans to do many more across the city as more people are on foot and bike. And I also want to share with you our first fiscal year Q1 community cleanup data. In just 3 short months, July, August, and September, we've done a total of 134 cleanups. We've had over 600 volunteers, which equates to approximately 1,200 volunteer hours. We've cleaned up 118 miles, and we've collected over 30,000 tons of trash. And just to put that in perspective, that's about 3,000 large elephants. That's a lot of litter. But we are indeed a purpose-driven community. Now just imagine those results multiplied by 600 affiliates across the nation and its powerful impact that Helen described earlier. We're also improving recycling too in Atlanta. This fall, we embarked upon a recycling communication campaign called Know What to Throw. Our goal was to educate residents on how to reduce recycling contamination. We had a Feet on the Streets team go to all 98,000 single-family households in the city of Atlanta, where they were audited for 4 consecutive weeks for recycling contamination. Those carts that had the top 6 contaminants that we identified, plastic bags are number 1 in Atlanta. They were tagged and removed and not serviced until those contaminants were taken care of. We saw some real behavior change and some real results. Our tag routes reduce the contamination by 20%. We also increase our recycling of valuable materials by 10%. And as soon as it's appropriate to resume this work, the campaign will replicate again with another round of tagging across the city. We'll also focus with this grant to improve recycling participation in single-family households. I've been a part of the Keep America Beautiful network now for 20 years, and it's been a true pleasure. This work is impactful, it's meaningful, and purpose-driven. Every American deserves to live, work, play in a clean, green, and beautiful community. So my call to action to you is simple. Reach out to your local Keep America Beautiful affiliate. Volunteer, whether it be in person or virtually. Host a community cleanup with your family, friends, coworkers, socially distanced, of course. Serve on a local board or committee. We need your time, talent, and commitment. And last but not least, donate. Join me and the Keep America Beautiful affiliates and thousands of volunteers across this great nation in keeping America beautiful. In closing, I would like to share a short video of one of the cleanup and adopt a spot groups here in Atlanta, Cam Kirk Studios, who capture the essence of the power and purpose. Thank you so much for being here.
Wow. And to think that that's in just one community, amazing work, really making a difference. The power of purpose in community. Kanika, thank you so much for sharing. So we are down to our final guest, who is in transit. Hopefully we'll get him here soon. I'd love to hear, maybe you can throw ideas in the chat as we wrap up our event tonight. Any thoughts or anything that's standing out to folks, go ahead and throw it in the chat, something maybe you're walking away with. I'm going to remind everyone of, you know, what it is, the participation part of this whole thing. As a Keep America Beautiful has 650 affiliates, millions of people that volunteer annually, and every one of them can use your help, particularly this year. Please make a commitment to do one of the following tonight. Invest in the future. Beautifying and unifying community offers remarkable social returns. Remember that 50 times ROI. No better place to invest. Volunteer. Every individual engaged by a Keep America Beautiful affiliate makes a measurable difference in their local community. And then, of course, partner with us. Reach out to Jacqueline Grace, Chief of Development, and discuss a multi-year partnership. Take your organization and take your part in revitalization of community. So just want to see if we've got Steve on deck. All right, bear with us a couple of moments now. Actually, Tim, maybe now would be a time to play the other video. Looks like Steve's on his way. 1 second. Like we said, bear with us. We're trying to do this live, so thanks for holding on. It's been quite a conversation so far this evening. Obviously, based on what I shared at the beginning, purpose and community is really my life's work, and I happen to be part of two organizations that both work on it at the organizational level and at the individual level. And it's been incredible to see what happens, the catalytic qualities of being driven by purpose, by ideas bigger than yourself, ideas that are bold and audacious. I think it calls on the best of us. It brings our creativity forward when we look to take on an ambition. And interestingly enough, the Jupiter missions, or the Apollo missions, were about to celebrate a 50-year anniversary. Talk about a bold vision in 1 decade, going from no space travel to landing on the moon. So what isn't possible with an audacious purpose in mind? And I think we're in a time now where we're all realizing that the kind of vitality that we want to have in our communities is something that we need to take responsibility for, something that we can have a hand in. Being joined with an organization like Keep America Beautiful is a channel in which we can express those desires and those commitments to be able to bring our energy, our resources, and time into a mechanism that's perfectly designed to revitalize communities. And perfect timing, we were able to get Steve Russell here with us. So Steve, I'm going to hand it right off to you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Brent, and apologies for the technology snafu. Listen, I want to thank you, Brent, our speakers, the KAB staff team, for a really unique evening. A lot of work has gone into creating a unique event that hopefully is going to both inspire and lead to action. There's some really interesting points. Brent, you suggested that we take notes when Balaji was speaking, and boy, that was great advice. I took down one of the key takeaways for me is that purpose has become the new technology. And since human intelligence drives artificial intelligence, there's a really beautiful anchoring of people then at the purpose intersection there. So that's given me a lot to think about. I hope it's given you a lot to think about also. We definitely have a lot of work ahead of us. I've been at Keep America Beautiful and involved with the organization for over a decade, and currently have the privilege of serving as chair. Over the years, I've really been impressed by the tangible impacts that KAB makes on people and the communities where they live all across the country. As many organizations this year, KAB's experienced its share of challenges due to the pandemic, but I really believe that that's caused us to get more creative, more focused, and more energized in redoubling our efforts to deliver on our purpose. My confidence in the future of KAB is based in the understanding we've gained over the last several months, in particular, that the organization is both strong and resilient. And I'm confident that its future is bright. My confidence is based in part on the fact that we've really quickly and easily aligned on an aggressive strategic plan that's going to guide our work over the next 5 years. But my confidence is also based on having had the privilege of working closely with Helen and the staff team and the really amazing board of directors that KAB has access to. Board members who contribute their time, their talent, their treasure into making the organization what it is. And so I want to thank the KAB staff and the board for all that you do. And so by now, I hope all of you are asking the question, how can I get involved? And how can I become a change maker? And if you're asking yourself that question, good. We have 3 great answers in how to do that. The first is to volunteer. Now, time is precious. I get it, these days in particular. But as you've just heard from Kanika and others, the impact that a small donation in time can make is really tremendous when it's leveraged with small acts of time and volunteering from across the networks. So volunteering is key to how KAB delivers impact. And of course, KAB is a not-for-profit organization, so you can donate. And whether you're an individual or a corporation or from another NGO group, there's all kinds of ways to donate to KAB. And I know that the staff team will help you find the right place that works for you. And then finally, partnering. Partnerships are at the key of how KAB delivers value. Partnerships, whether they be with corporations or with government organizations or other not-for-profit organizations, partnerships help us leverage the power of good to deliver beautiful outcomes. So I've been asked to close the event tonight, but I really hope you'll think about this closing more as an opening, about a beginning of a discussion about how we can work together to make America a cleaner, greener place, one that engages communities by working together and delivering results to help beautify our country from sea to sea. Thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for your attention. I hope you've enjoyed a meal, a great cocktail, and some really thought-provoking presentations from a variety of perspectives. So thanks for joining us tonight. And Brent, back to you.
We're going to wrap up with a short video and some final commentary.
Wherever great purpose appears, American communities rise. We've risen too, driven by our own purpose, to keep America beautiful, so Americans can do beautiful things. What great purposes will define our communities in the future? Whatever they are, we don't just want a seat at the table. We want to help build it. Because empowering individuals to define and prioritize purpose in their own community is how we fulfill our own.
Thank you to all who worked so hard to make tonight possible, particularly all of our sponsors, and all of you that chose to spend your evening at this event. As we close the night, we encourage you all to continue the conversation, certainly in the networking area that's part of this virtual platform after this, but also by getting involved, by contributing your time, contributing your resources, joining in partnership with Keep America Beautiful. Let's beautify and unify communities together. Good night.